Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All with Dr. Scott Walter coming to you from X Takeover, which is just about to shut down this year. If you didn't come this year, you should definitely come next year.
Definitely come next year.
It was pretty amazing.
It's a wonderful venue out here at the Madonna Inn, a crazy looking inn. Great food there.
Right. And look at the landscape. I mean, wow.
Yes, but
it's beautiful out here.
But bring shorts and jeans and,
a
sweater
jacket.
or a jacket because it's everywhere from hot to cold.
Yes.
I say it's like being on Mercury. On the day side, you're boiling. On the night side, you're freezing.
If you're uncomfortable with the temperature, just walk out of the shadow or into the sun. Whatever.
Into the sun. Yeah.
And also bring your Indiana Jones hats because there you go.
Oh yeah, if you don't want to get a sunburn all over you like I did yesterday. But this was a great event.
It was amazing.
And we had a surprise right at the end.
We did. Elon
promised 5 minutes.
Yes.
And we got an hour and 5 minutes.
Yes.
But the other thing that was uncharacteristic is he was supposed to start at 12 noon.
You're talking right now.
And guess what? He
started at 12.
He started actually
insane.
right on time.
I know, that
which
was crazy.
Absolutely amazing. We could not believe that.
So it was, we thought we'd be waiting for a half hour at least, and Elon was like right on it. Virtually unfortunate, but I think he's got spaces going.
Yep. Yeah.
You can't kill it. You can't kill it.
You can't kill it. It's like, and it doesn't even have volume control.
I know Spaces is very annoying about that way. It's like you can't kill Spaces. There it goes. Okay, now it's gone. Okay, so anyway, let's just talk about. There were a ton of booths. Amazing stuff. The Cybertruck is quite the revelation. It is quite the platform.
Yes.
I can't believe how much stuff people are building on it. From police cars to campers to wraps to I don't know what else.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Hey folks, we're recording, but hi. So good. Cool. Well, come say hi. You'll be in our video.
You'll be in it. Yeah.
So. This is how cool. This is why you go to X Takeover.
I listen to them.
Check it out.
Day.
What is your name?
Great. Ben.
Ben.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yep.
We are in it, and we'll stay. Go ahead and take a picture. There you go.
Take
Cool.
the video of us taking
so
the video.
yes, this is why X Takeover is awesome.
What was the best part of the takeover?
Yeah, you tell us. What was the
Elon
best
Musk.
part? Okay, there you go.
Okay, and what did you learn? What was something that he said that was surprising?
I think I've heard a lot of it before, but what did he say that I learned? I don't know.
FSD for Cybertruck in 2 weeks,
yes,
maybe?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Well, he said August for sure, probably within August.
Yes,
so maybe 2 to 4 weeks or something like that.
I think the confirmation of the forearm. That's what I was going to ask you
interesting,
first.
Yeah. For me,
I thought of you when he said that.
Oh yeah, I was
thought
looking
of
for
you
Scott.
when he said that.
Your daughter is freaking out back there, so that's so funny.
No, I listen to these guys every day.
So there you go. You get to be in the. You're no longer just watching. You're in it.
You're
so
in it.
cool.
You're
It's
in it.
great to meet you, Ben.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for what you do.
All good, of course, absolutely.
Okay.
Have a good one. So yes, so let's talk about the forearm first, because I was really like, it was a confirmation of stuff that you, of course. I was like, well, Scott's going like, told you so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that Elon said, along with all the other stuff, because we had an hour with him, he got a little bit into Optimus. He said, it's strange that when you start working on a humanoid bot, that you begin to realize that nature has provided all the solutions for you.
Right.
And that the actuation for your fingers in there, that's basically like it's a puppet master. These little puppets going around and these strings are being pulled down here. So most of your actuators are down here. You have some muscles up there, but they really don't do a whole lot.
Yep.
And he sort of said earlier that some of the actuators are going to go back there, but he really made a big deal about how everything has to go back in the forearm.
Right.
And this is why they're talking about 22-degree freedom hand. They're talking about the wrist as part of those 22-degree freedoms.
Exactly.
No doubt about it. So, 19 are basically the fingers, and that's going in there because the whole thing is integrated. It's not a snap-on hand. The whole idea is like everything's got to go through here because they've been inspired by what's going on with the design of nature. Okay. We do know that they plan on coming up with a new version at the end of the year, the Gen 3, and then next year they're going to have something called, I think it was production version 1 for internal Tesla use only in the factories. They're going to have lots of engineers babysitting it to make sure it's working right, tweaking it, getting it ready. And once they think it's ready, then probably the following year, 2026, it'll be available to probably other companies to start using it also in factories.
And that was great too, to hear some timelines too.
Right, but if you think about it, that's such a major inspiration and rechange up to here. It's got to be going on up there. So I have a feeling if he's saying, when you look at how that's done, then you look at what's going on in the shoulder. Right now, everyone's robot design is the shoulder is 3 axes. Okay,
Right.
look in your arm. We're up in your shoulder. Do you see 3 axes there, or
No,
3
of course
joints?
not.
You
It's-
don't.
yeah.
Just like, you know, your elbow, you see 1 joint. It looks like a hinge. They've made it like a hinge.
Right.
Up here, it's a ball and socket joint.
Yep.
Why don't they make it like a ball and socket joint and figure out how to actually?
Well, and again, they're going to have to take inspiration from humans because that requires tendons and muscles and
stuff
things
like
to
that.
pull
They
it around.
could do something like that, where maybe they are going to have some tendons or things
Which
to
then
pull.
means it's not a snap-on arm anymore because that goes into the chest in that case. In which
It could
like,
potentially
yeah,
go into
so,
the chest
yeah.
and be a bit more complicated,
Right.
or they could come up with a completely new design
Mm-hmm.
for a ball and socket joint,
Right.
which
Right.
I am calling a spherical actuator.
Yes.
Or what I'd like to call is a quaternion drive, because it
Oh,
sounds awesome.
everybody. If you know
Okay.
quaternions, you know.
Yes, so the quaternion drive, we're designing it.
That sounds like a space drive in a science fiction movie, like Star Trek, you know. They're like, hit the quaternion drive, and you're like...
And it's going to be pretty simple in that it doesn't have to have full range of motion
Right,
that you
right.
would expect. And it just has to have the range of motion in the correct direction.
Exactly.
It can be done. It can be done. I've got ideas for that, and I'm
Yeah.
sure they've got ideas
Yeah,
for that,
exactly.
and they would know how
I
to
have an
design it.
idea in my head like right now too. I'm like, I can see it in my head. But
Yeah.
these instead of the reason why you don't want a stacked 3 actuator setup is just because all the axes are off from each other. So you've got all these weird offset axes and things get way more complicated.
Yeah, it gets more complicated, and even then what you have is you've got actuators that are providing torque and range of motion that's completely unnecessary. So the last one that's down here is the same big motors that they have up there.
Right.
And it's for taking your arm to make it kind of go something like that. In your arm, the reality is it doesn't move that much. It's like
Right.
you're lucky to get 90 degrees out of that. So you
Exactly.
get a motor that can do plus or minus 180, it doesn't have to.
Right.
So the idea is to design something that has everything in one, and if you do that,
Right.
it's going to be limited in some movements, but that's okay. My body's limited in those
Right.
movements as well, so that's okay.
As Elon said, taking inspiration
Taking
from
inspiration.
nature, where you can
Now,
see.
we're reading the tea leaves there
Yes.
by saying they're making
Yes.
such a change here, they
Yeah.
could be making a change everywhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
And that will probably provide a lot more dexterity. They've learned a lot already. That's
Right.
something he mentioned. So that's on Optimus. So low production next
Yes.
year, and
Yes.
then high production the year after.
Yep.
They're going to be ready on that. When it comes to valuations, he says the numbers are bananas, and that you
He
just
kept
start
saying
looking at it,
bananas. He was like 20 trillion. It's like, actually, wait, 200 trillion.
200 trillion, and even that could be a low number, because
Yeah,
when you really
yeah.
do it, you're talking about these singularities where
Right.
your math gets so crazy. 20 trillion, 200 trillion, 200 trillion.
Orders of magnitude
what,
don't
what
even
comes
matter
after
anymore.
trillion? You know,
Quadrillion. There we go.
quadrillion or
Yeah.
something like that.
But, yeah.
So that's how, and at that point you just say, well, the economy and everything has changed so much.
Yeah.
It almost doesn't make sense using those numbers anymore.
Right.
Just like once you go past the event horizon of the black hole,
Exactly.
like your math and everything breaks
It
down.
just breaks down.
So
Yeah.
that's it. Now,
We don't have the math to
So-
describe it yet.
so-
First of all, real quick, big shout out to Tesla owners Los Angeles, Regen Mode. Thank you for the
okay,
t-shirt.
now
Nice.
for those
Yeah.
who speak German, this is another meaning. That means
Reagan.
Reagan. It's,
Reagan,
it's
yeah.
pronounced Reagan, which is not the name of a former president, but
Right.
actually means rain
Yes.
in German. So basically rain mode or regen mode is the
Either way you
look
want
at
to call it. So
Yeah,
there you
yeah.
go. A quick mood check, Elon. I felt like the first 5 minutes of the talk were a little awkward, and he was kind of like, not vibing yet. But then John and Kelvin, great job by them. They got him going. He did a top hat. He was talking about cats tap dancing.
Tap dancing,
I
yes.
was like, what the hell?
You get it.
So you got to watch it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I assume it's going to get streamed. If it wasn't,
it was live streamed.
It
yeah.
was live
Yeah,
streamed.
so you can
it's
check
just
it out,
gotta
and
be
I'll
there.
have a repost on
Right,
my channel as
right.
well.
Now
So,
the other thing
yeah.
is, as far as like 2 weeks and stuff like that, the
Yeah.
first part, about the first 15 minutes, was
Right.
all about Starship.
Exactly,
And
which was
everything
great.
and what they want to do, and the first like, when's IFT5? IFT5, Elon said it's probably 2 to 3 weeks at the earliest, which
Yes.
puts it about mid-August,
Right.
which is what confirms what I've been hearing as well
Right.
from other sources. But he also sort of said it could move to more like early September,
Right.
based on FAA approval and everything. So we assume they already had the FAA approval, but maybe there's still some paperwork to get the
Exactly.
final launch license on
Well,
that.
I think they don't want to make assumptions about the FAA approvals, right? They don't want to
They don't want to. And the other thing is that there are lots of changes, and he talked about
Exactly.
that there's thousands of changes everywhere, and he stressed a lot about the importance of the guys on the launch site, those that do stage 0, the whole launch
exactly.
pad, and that seems to be the critical element they're really working on right now. As far as like future timelines, they want to try to grab this one. I think he said, what did he say, 50%?
I think 50% odds
50%
that they
odds
would
that
grab the
they would-
booster on
they
the
would
chopsticks.
the booster,
Yeah.
right.
And higher than that, 60+% odds that the Starship, not that it will get caught, but that it will do a soft touchdown.
Soft landing
with
in
control.
the Indian Ocean.
In the proper place.
In the proper place.
He talked about skeleton arms. He said the flaps were like skeleton arms.
Yes, by the time
it got done, because they'd all melted.
So they're making a big change in that, and they're pretty confident that they'll be able to do the soft landing.
Yes.
In the water remotely, where it's
and that's
with
the old style flaps, because
Right.
those are the ones that are at 180 instead of stretched back further. So they're still in the slipstream as it comes back in. So
Now, if they do it 3 times in a row,
right, that's what he said.
then they will attempt to grab it
Right.
with the chopsticks
Yeah.
in future flight. So that means, see, if that's IFT 5, 6, 7,
So 8.
then 8, they might try to bring it home. And that's assuming the booster is being grabbed right and everything else.
Yes,
Now,
exactly.
Felix was here yesterday, and
Right.
we had a good talk with him, and his understanding is that what they would probably try to do with the booster is that right now when the Falcon 9 lands, it doesn't actually go towards the drone ship.
Yes.
It's actually aiming at a spot that's going to miss the drone ship, and it's
Right.
at the very last instant when everything is going the way it's supposed to,
That
it
it
kind of
slides.
shifts over and lands.
It does a power slide.
So if something goes wrong, it just goes in the drink,
Right.
right? Now in this case, if something goes wrong, going in the drink cannot just be off the beach in the surf.
Exactly.
Okay. The idea is that
Because there's a couple hundred yards
Yes.
between the ocean and the
Right,
chopsticks.
right.
So, yeah.
And the idea is the way it's designed, it has a lot of cross-range capability that it will come down, and if everything is going wrong, it's still going to go in the ocean 20 miles offshore.
Right.
If everything is going right, then they will try to bring it in and grab it at that point. So
Because
it's
it
not
has the ability to hover too. It's not like a suicide
yes,
slam.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. So everything is going to be either it's going to land way out in the ocean,
Right.
or it's going to come right in there. It's not
so
going
they'll
to be
put a
some
lot of
in-between
extra
thing.
in it, probably, so it has a little. So it'll
Right,
like actually come
right.
down like this, and then Felix
Right,
thinks it'll translate sideways and
Yes,
come down.
yes.
Interesting.
Be able to do it.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
yes.
that's really cool. What else? Full self-driving. The 2 things Elon said he was most excited about, because that was a good question. He said full reusability of Starship, which is a huge thing. And he was like, these are going to be historical things that they'll talk about in 50 or 100 years. I agree. Full reusability, rapid reusability without
Right.
refurbishment of Starship would be huge. And that could happen next year. And then full self-driving.
Yes.
Which equates to Optimus, because if you can solve that and do robo-taxis, then the robot, the humanoid robot, is an extension of that.
And that's the other thing you should have said about Optimus, is that next year, the
Right.
Optimus, I think right now Optimus is using hardware 4.
Yes.
Yes, so for the production version, it'll be hardware 4, and then in 2026, when they get ready to scale on that, that's going to be using
AI5.
AI5 at that
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
and you'll be able to talk to it. I mean,
Right.
you mentioned that. I assume you'll be able to talk to it next year internally. It's just
Right.
that the final
Yeah.
product. is
And
like that.
they'll start selling it outside of Tesla,
Outside of
potentially in
Tesla.
2026.
Right,
So
right.
that's really
No
cool too.
No price. He's saying long term it could be like 20 to 25,000, but next year I imagine it would be
Yeah.
over 100,000.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, because there will be. I mean,
it's
there's a
gonna be
market
leased.
for the Foundation Series Cybertruck.
He said sell, but I think he really meant lease, because he talked
Yeah.
about the early models would be a lease model.
Right. Yeah. And what else was I going to say about that? He was talking about how everybody would want a C-3PO or an R2-D2. And, he said the market is like that. Imagine if you could get a C-3PO from Star Wars as your companion. Of course, who's not going to want one? So he said the
Everyone's
market
gonna-
is at least 10 billion. So you have 8 billion people on the planet. Everybody gets one, and then you have a whole bunch for factories and things like that.
For other stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
So the TAM is
What
just
a
crazy.
crazy world.
And that's when you look at that and
Right.
say, well, we take a small piece of that.
Yeah.
Our valuation is nutty.
Yeah.
And then you just
Well, or once you get to that point and you have these robots and you have the starships, you can chuck them up into space and they can start doing stuff there. So I mean, 10 billion is a low number.
Oh, it's a low number.
you
Yeah,
could go
yeah,
another-
yeah.
you
The,
can go another
the original
10x.
missions to Mars are
Yeah.
not going to be.
No, they won't
They're
be
not
human.
going to be crewed.
There will probably be crewed just to show that we can do it, but the
Do
ones
it.
that are
But
actually
it will be
doing-
a small crew.
Yeah, and they'll go
then-
and they'll touch down and come back.
and they'll have at least 100 bots in the belly,
Exactly.
if not more.
Yeah,
Because
it's true.
remember, you can just pack them like sardines
Yeah.
in there.
And if a couple of them don't make it because of cosmic rays, it doesn't matter. So
Yeah, and you can use them for parts if
Yeah,
necessary.
exactly,
And
right.
they don't need consumables, so
Right.
they can be hibernating for 6 months,
Yeah.
whatever it takes to
Yeah.
get there, and then whoop, suddenly you have
Right.
a colony of them. Yeah.
which is going to be amazing. Throw that in a couple of cool 3D printers and stuff that
Now,
people
he
have been
was
working
talking
on.
about how Dojo was working and the power on that. That
Yeah.
was rather interesting.
Oh, not Dojo, but the NVIDIA clusters.
Oh, the
yes,
NVIDIA
yes,
clusters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was amazing. He said it's like it flickers on the order of 100 milliseconds. So that's like a tenth of a second.
And
the
why
power
is that?
spiking.
Because-
I assume just because there's so much power draw.
But for that one instant they need it, and then they don't have power. Is like for every calculation.
I
doing
was
something like that?
unsure about that, but there's obviously some yo-yo effect. Maybe it's just the amount of draw out of the power grid that the grid. you know, you have to think about it a little more as a living entity almost. Like the power is like, it's pushing all that power and then it's like too much and then it's like back
the
off.
Griswolds in National Lampoon's Christmas,
Exactly.
where when Clark Griswold goes ahead
It's like,
and plugs it in, they need to bring another reactor online. So you could imagine.
Well, and you can't just get like a little UPC like you have for your house for your computer. You can't get like a little battery UPC.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge. So, you know, the power cleaning has got to be a huge issue. And I guess the GPUs probably do. You know, they're running at a steady state, but then suddenly it's like, hey, do all this training, and all of a sudden they're like, oh,
suddenly
we got all these calculations.
And you got to remember, the grid's got its own loads that are kind of going on. So
so
they must be having to do something to buffer it, almost like download it and run it, which just goes to show that you just can't buy these things and then say, turn them on.
Right.
You need to have an environment for them, which needs to be cooled.
Exactly.
Which is already one problem. And the other is the power that's going on. And so if that construction's a little bit behind, you don't want to take this delivery of however many they are and have them literally sitting around unused.
Exactly.
You want, you know, that's why you want to try to time the deliveries right.
Somebody posted on X, I apologize, I can't remember who, but it was a really good point. He said that, remember that 12.5.1 was not trained on the new cluster in Texas. So that isn't even online yet, and we've got 12.5.1, which is, so, you know, think about that. That's the kind of power.
And so now that's online in Texas, or is it just about to?
Close. I don't think it's there yet, but it's getting close.
And there's also one in Memphis, right?
That's the one that they just brought online. Was that for X or for Tesla, though? I can't remember if that was for X.
Maybe that was for X,
Yeah, that might have been X. That might have been the stuff that got Elon in trouble because they sent the H100s there instead of to, but anyway. Wow, what else was I going to say? He got really enthusiastic about something, and I was the clusters. Anyway, I lost it. But Elon was he was really excited. He was happy. As far as the rest was concerned, it was great meeting a bunch of folks that we've seen before. It was great seeing a bunch of new people, and I don't know, it was fantastic. It was a really good 2 days.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely great. I'm just trying to think what topics were left. So FSD, Cybertruck. FSD for Cybertruck.
Oh yeah, FSD for Cybertruck as well, coming in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, and then of course the clusters, that's there, Optimus. It's out there. If you want to know more, just go ahead and watch it.
The stream. It's worthwhile watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, sorry about that. My phone absolutely died.
Phone had range anxiety.
I did. It had range anxiety. So we don't have mics anymore. We were just about to wrap up anyway. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Scott, for being here. It was awesome. We will.
And thank you to the followers who came out and greeted us. So it was really nice to meet them. It's so motivating to hear them come and say that they've learned a lot from us and everything else. And vice versa. I think I learned a lot from them, meeting them as well.
Exactly. Yep, we learned a lot too, so it's great. All right, everybody, have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, there we go.